Good morning. We are on the record. Today is February 20th, 2018. The time is 11:03 a.m. We are at 100 Church Street, New York City on the second floor. Welcome to today's meeting of the New York City Business Integrity Commission. This is a public meeting which was duly noticed for today's date at this location at 11 a.m. We have a court reporter here taking down what is being said, and the meeting is being videotaped, which video will be put on BIC's website in a timely manner after the conclusion of this meeting. I am Noah Janelle, Deputy Commissioner of Legal Affairs and General Counsel for the Commission. I am joined by the following Commission members: Daniel Brownell, Commissioner and Chair of the Business Integrity Commission; Department of Sanitation Commissioner Catherine Garcia; Christopher Tellett is Assistant General Counsel of the Department of Investigation and is representing the Department of Investigation Commissioner Mark Peters; Department of Consumer Affairs Commissioner Lorelei Salas; Deputy Commissioner for Legal and Regulatory Affairs Andrew Schwartz of the Department of Small Business Services is representing Small Business Services Commissioner Greg Bishop; and New York City Police Department Deputy Inspector Dominic DeRazio representing Police Commissioner James O'Neill. Thank you all for being here today. The first agenda item is for the Commission to consider 4 applications which the Commission staff has recommended be denied. The applicants were each served with a notice of the grounds to recommend the denial of their applications. The applicants were advised that they had 10 business days to submit a sworn written response to the Commission. As is the Commission staff's practice, the staff granted reasonable requests for an extension of the response date. On February 13th, 2017, we emailed to the Commission members the recommended denial decisions regarding the applications at issue, as well as any responses submitted by the applicants. There have been no material changes made to any of the recommended denial decisions since we emailed them. I will now review the grounds cited for each recommended denial. For each application, the Commission members will vote as to whether or not to adopt the staff's recommendation to deny the application. A vote of yes is a vote to adopt the staff's recommendation, and a vote of no is a vote not to adopt. The first application to be considered is the registration renewal application of ASAP Cleanouts Inc. to operate as a trade waste business. The staff attorney in charge of this application is Executive Agency Counsel Pam Peralta. The Commission staff recommends denial of this application based on the following 5 grounds as fully set forth in the staff's recommendation. 1, the applicant knowingly provided false information to the Commission. 2, the applicant's undisclosed principal was a principal of a predecessor trade waste business for which the Commission would be authorized to deny a registration. 3, the applicant's principal testified falsely during her sworn interview. 4, the applicant has repeatedly engaged in unregistered trade waste removal activity. And 5, the applicant has knowingly associated with an organized crime associate and a convicted racketeer. Do any of the commissioners have any questions or comments regarding this application? Seeing none, is there a motion from the commissioners to adopt the staff's recommendation? Is there a second? How do the members vote? Start down.
Yes.
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 Yes. I'll let the record reflect that the vote is unanimous. The second application to be considered today is the registration application of B&A Commercial Inc. to operate as a trade waste business. The staff attorneys in charge of this application are Executive Agency Counsel Jonathan Jacobs and Lemore Paulette. The Commission staff recommends denial of this application based on the following 2 independently sufficient grounds as fully set forth in the staff's recommendation. 1, the applicant knowingly provided false and misleading information on its application. And 2, the applicant's principal provided false and misleading information during sworn testimony before the Commission. Do any of the commissioners have any questions or comments regarding this application? Seeing none, is there a motion from the commissioners to adopt the staff's recommendations? Is there a second? How do the Commission members vote?
Yes.
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 Let the record reflect that the vote is unanimous, yes. The third application to be considered today is the registration application of New York Construction 69 Co. Inc., DBA JB General Contracting, to operate as a trade waste business. The staff attorney in charge of this application is Deputy General Counsel David Mandel. The Commission staff recommends denial of this application based on the following 4 independently sufficient grounds as fully set forth in the staff's recommendation. 1, the applicant knowingly failed to provide information required by the Commission. 2, the applicant failed to timely notify the Commission of its principal's arrest. 3, the applicant has been found liable in civil and administrative actions that bear a direct relationship to its fitness to conduct a trade waste business. And 4, the applicant has failed to pay taxes, fines, penalties, or fees that are related to the applicant's business for which judgment has been entered by a court or administrative tribunal of competent jurisdiction. Do any of the commissioners have any questions or comments regarding this application? Seeing none, is there a motion from the commissioners to adopt the staff's recommendation?
Yes.
Is there a second? How do the commissioners vote?
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Let the record reflect that the vote is unanimous, yes. The 4th application to be considered today is the registration application of Red Star Trading, Inc. to operate as a trade waste business. The staff attorneys in charge of this application are Executive Agency Counsels Jonathan Jacobs and Lee Paulette. The Commission staff recommends denial of this application based on the following 3 independently sufficient grounds as fully set forth in the staff's recommendation. 1, Red Star's sole principal was an undisclosed principal of a predecessor company that the Commission would be authorized to deny a registration. 2, Red Star is a successor corporation to a company that was found to have engaged in illegal dumping and operating a transfer station illegally. And 3, Red Star provided false and misleading information to the Commission in its registration application. Do any of the commissioners have any questions or comments regarding this application? Seeing none, is there a motion from the commissioners to adopt the staff's recommendation? Is there a second?
Yes.
How do the commissioners vote?
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Let the record reflect that the vote is unanimous, yes. The next agenda item is a review of the revocation of the Class II registration of Atlantic Couriers, Inc., or ACI. On December 1st, 2017, the Commission staff served ACI with a petition for recommendation of revocation of respondents' Class II registration, through which the Commission sought to revoke the registration of ACI. The petition set forth 7 grounds for revocation. On December 18, 2017, an administrative law judge at the Office of Administrative Trials and Hearings held a hearing regarding the petition. The Commission appeared at the hearing, ACI did not. The ALJ held a hearing in ACI's absence, during which the Commission presented evidence in support of revoking the registration. On December 27, 2017, the ALJ issued a report and recommendation to the Commission recommending that the registration be revoked based on 6 of the 7 grounds set forth in the petition. Pursuant to the delegation of authority regarding revocations made by the Commission to the Chair during a July 16, 1996 Commission meeting, Chair Brownell reviewed the record and accepted the ALJ's report and recommendation in full. ACI's registration was revoked effective December 28, 2017. A copy of the petition, the ALJ's report and recommendation, and the letter sent by Chair Brownell to ACI were attached to a memorandum to all of the commissioners. It is rare that the Commission revokes a license or registration. However, it was necessary in this case. As the court found, ACI made false statements, including material omissions on its application to the Commission, and failed to notify the Commission of material information as required. As a result of some of these false statements, ACI's sole disclosed principal was convicted in New York State Court in Richmond County of offering a false instrument for filing. This case shows that applicants must be truthful in their applications to the Commission and demonstrates that there are serious consequences when applicants make false statements, including hiding material information to the Commission. The next item on the agenda is a proposed final rule for the Commission to consider. This is a proposed omnibus rule amendment relating to the Mayor's retrospective rules review, which all agencies undertook together with the Law Department, Office of Management and Budget, and the Mayor's Office of Operations. The goal was to identify rules that should be repealed or modified to reduce regulatory burdens, increase equity, support small businesses, and help the public better understand the rules and comply with them. The rule modifications being presented to the Commission were identified through this initiative. The Commission has previously authorized this rule to go through the rulemaking process pursuant to the City Administrative Procedure Act. On June 7th, 2017, the Commission held a public hearing on the proposed rule and received public comments on it. The omnibus rule changes are now up for a vote as to whether to adopt them. If the Commission votes yes to adopt the rule changes, the final rules will be published and will go into effect 30 days after publication. Do any of the Commissioners have any questions or comments regarding the proposed rules? Seeing none, is there a motion from the Commissioners to adopt the proposed rules?
Yes.
Is there a second?
Yes.
How do the Commissioners vote?
Yes.
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 Let the record reflect that the vote is unanimous, yes. And lastly on the agenda, we have an added item. I will turn it over to Commissioner Brownell to make that announcement.
Good morning. So as many of you know, starting in late September of last year, as part of the zone collection effort headed by DSNY, DSNY and BIC headed a group of stakeholders from the larger stakeholder meeting on zone collection with regard to efforts to improve safety in the trade waste industry. And as a first goal, first step, it was to create what we call the Universal Safety Manual. The idea was to tap into the collective wisdom of the industry and of DSNY. Quite frankly, we took most of our stuff from DSNY. Steve Harbin and Justin Bland, and then some other people in the trade waste industry were also very helpful in this effort to put together a trade waste safety manual. The objective of which was to cover the major topics that we would want every trade waste company to cover in developing their own safety plan. And so this week, by the end of this week, we expect that the manual will be released. For one thing, it'll be on our website. We have a copy, a hard copy, for all of the commissioners. Sal Arona, who's here, played a major role along with other people at BIC, and as I said, DSNY. So this is a great first step in this effort. The next thing we're looking to do, which is going to be a little more involved, I should say Emily Anderson, who's sitting here, is also the other major person from BIC, is to come up with video trainings for key aspects of the manual, which then trade waste companies can then show to their own workers and drivers. That's obviously a little bit more involved because the production of that kind of thing is fairly involved, but Vision Zero people are going to help us along with other people in the industry, and of course, and always sanitation, Department of Sanitation. So we expect to be coming up with some of those things fairly soon in this effort, all part of the zone collection thing effort going forward. So anyway, this is a great first accomplishment for this committee, and I just want to make sure that all the commissioners are aware of that. So, and then the other thing that's going to be happening, sort of connected to the work of this committee, is safety, as everyone knows, is becoming much more of a concern in the trade waste industry, which is a very dangerous industry by nature. And so one of the things that is going to be happening, probably starting with the next commission meeting, is we're going to be looking to institute rules in the trade waste industry more directed towards safety. One of which is, that's great that we're providing trade waste companies with this manual, but we know that we need to have some sort of compulsory aspect of this thing to make sure that they're actually taking it and using it to devise their own comprehensive safety plan for their company. And so I anticipate that that'll be one of the rules that we'll be coming up with that will obligate them to, maybe probably provide Business Integrity Commission with a copy of their company safety plan, so that it can be reviewed to make sure from our perspective, that they've actually taken this whole initiative seriously in developing that for their own company. And I expect that there'll be other rules that we'll be bringing to the commission. Again, always working with the Department of Sanitation, who deals with every one of these issues in the function of their own, agency. So there's going to be a lot going on in the next year or so in this regard.
Thank you, Commissioner. That concludes the matters before the commission. I ask the members of the commission to sign the denial decisions that have been voted today. Thank you to the commission members for your participation and to the commission staff for their hard work on these matters. And thank you also to any members of the public who are here today for